Get out right out of your bed, that's your quicksand. Getting rid of anxiety and head, you can fix it. Rid of stigmas, all of them you said, we ain't listening. Just remember, try to do your best, you can win this. Maurice Benard, state of mind.
All right. This is, how do you say state of mind in Spanish?
Estado mental.
Estado mental. This is
Say it.
estado mental. In English, it is state of mind. I got somebody here who, I mean, I haven't seen this person in 20 years. And he's hella talented. And not just acting, just funny. He's good looking, whatever that means. And I never knew how to say his last name, and I may mess it up right now, but he's done a lot of stuff. But there's one thing in particular that I do want to talk to him about is Clint Eastwood. But I'm not going to, we'll talk about it later, but I'm going to tell him how I saw this movie and whatnot. Okay, so it's been 20 years, like I said before. He's done a lot of movies. You know, he's another one that has so many credits that I'm not going to start naming all of them. First of all, I'm jealous, so that's one reason I won't. I'm not jealous. I'm very happy for him. His name is IGNACIO SERRICCHIO. IGNACIO SERRICCHIO.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
What's happening, my man?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's good.
I kissed your ass in
people. Yeah,
right?
but like I said, you never knew how to pronounce my name, and you never liked speaking Spanish to me. I remember you hated when I made you speak Spanish.
Yeah.
You would just respond in English.
Yeah.
I just kept like,
You,
like, oh, he doesn't like that. Cool. I'm gonna go even deeper.
I want to talk about. Well, I usually go from the beginning, like you know, where you were born.
No, jump into what we were talking.
Yeah, no, I want to talk about GH. How did you get
My
GH?
experience this is trippy because, and I was telling this when I saw King and Vonnie and Ted King and Greg Vaughn, but I moved out to LA and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know how anything worked. I knew you had to get an agent. So I put on a one-man show in a theater. It was a one-man show that it was Freak by John Leguizamo, who was one of my idols. And he had done this show on Broadway in '98. And I came across the script when I was in college, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest show ever." And there's like 50 different characters.
And you did that?
Yeah. So I did it first at Syracuse University. I got to him eventually, but it took me months because there was no Google, there was no nothing back then. So it was all calling the publishers, calling the lawyers and everything. And I sent him a letter, a heartfelt letter. I'm like, "Listen, man," I said, "this show, if I feel so close to it. I was born and raised in Latin America, and I came to New York, and it's all very similar."
Wow.
And I said, and I don't want to do it for money. I want to do it because I need to prove to myself, and I want to show my parents that all their sacrifice was worth something. And he gave me the rights for free.
Damn.
So I did what would be technically the regional premiere of Freak. So I did it at Syracuse. Then I moved out to LA, and I was like, I need an agent. I don't know I don't have any credits. I've done only theater. I don't have anything on film, anything on nothing. So I was like, let me do Freak again and invite agents because they get to see me do 50 different characters, voices, dialects, physical comedy, drama. So I went door to door, flyer style, inviting agents. Maybe invited like 100.
And casting people?
One came. Yeah.
One
agency came. But that's all I needed.
Yeah.
I just needed one person to see what I was capable of. And they're like, "We want to work with you." And one of the first auditions was House. So I did my first ever appearance on TV was on an episode of House. And then
Do you know that the actor character on House watched General Hospital?
Hugh Laurie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not him, but the character.
the character,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
His character. So I did that episode. Then I get an audition for General Hospital, and the character originally, I'll never forget this, was named Matthew, right? So I show up at the audition, and the sides were Matthew, this rebellious teenager who's being fostered by Alicia Lee Willis's character at the time. He comes back from a club at 2 a.m, right? So I show up at the audition, and there's all these guys, like the most good-looking, like 6 foot tall,
Blue
like,
eyes.
blue eyes, perfect hair, tank tops, muscles, right? And I come from theater where, you know, I'm like, hold on, this guy Matthew, he just came back from the club at 2 a.m. So I showed up disheveled, hair disheveled, big jacket, kind of the shirt was like almost like sweaty, because I'm like, what kind of club are they coming from where they're so pristine? So I auditioned in front of Teschner and Jill and Gwen, and it was in an office, and I just took over the office because there was no camera. So I'm like, even better, I don't have to stay in front of a frame. So I just started walking around the office as if it was Alicia's apartment, the character's apartment, touching stuff, and Alicia was like, "What is happening?"
That's great.
But it made it. And then for the callback, my agents are like, "Hey, they changed the character to Diego," and I was like, "Interesting."
Wow.
From Matthew to Diego.
Yeah,
and I was like, I wonder if it's to kind of make it more.
Of course.
For me, and it was.
Of course.
So it was the best.
So you were on for how long?
Well, 2.5 years at first, and then I left, and then I came back to be the text message killer. Do you remember? Yeah.
You were the text message.
That's right. That was the best because I left, and I think it was Jill or Gwen or Mark. They're like, "Hey, we're doing this text message killer story. We haven't revealed the killer yet. Would you want to come back, bring Diego back?" And I was like, "Absolutely." I have nothing but great memories in General Hospital. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world because I was introduced between theater and film or TV. I feel soap operas was like, it's like a great middle ground.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You still have a little bit of that theatrical speed in the sense like, let's go, get the lines, hit your mark type of thing. But you still have to get to the camera, right? And I came from theater, so we're just a little bit bigger and stuff. So
Yeah.
the first episodes when they were telling me, hey, you know, you're expressing like a lot. You're being very.
I like to sing in America. I like to take in America. In America. America.
Yeah. And I remember seeing Pacino as play Huey.
Yeah.
When he did it, right? And Pacino, I was like, but Pacino's Pacino in theater. He's the same as he is in film, right? But they told me that, and I got in my head. They're like, don't, you know, it's TV. It's all more here. So the first like 4 or 5 episodes that I'm on, I look like I'm asleep because I was so conscious, and I was like this.
Yeah, yeah.
And finally, I was like, no, I need to be myself, and I'm expressive. I'm Sicilian too.
Yeah.
we use hands for everything. But the
I remember when you were like that. Like, I'm like, why is he doing that?
Thanks for telling me.
You know what I mean?
You're such an asshole.
And you played Diego Alcazar, my fucking enemy.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, man.
So you did we ever think that you were like my son or something? Or it was just always
No, I think it was always Ted. It was always Ted. I know. I mean, I look more like you than I do Ted.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
And then your mother was?
Did I have a mother?
I mean, it wasn't Alicia, right?
No, God, no.
No, you didn't have a mother then, bro?
I don't
No,
think so.
I think you did.
Did?
Yeah,
Did she come, like, did we reveal, well, you have it in your notes that I had a mother?
I thought
But you wrote down Diego's mother? If I did, I don't remember.
Then maybe you.
I don't know. But it was the best experience. I learned so much, and I had you, Burton, Vonnie, Ted. You guys were so that you were so good to me in representing, in being mentors.
Yes.
You were so good to me.
I love young actors.
You, I tell Ted all the time, anytime I do an interview, I talk about you guys because it was so great to have these much older men
Yeah.
guide me and just walk me through, and also how the business worked.
Yeah.
Right? I came from I don't know. I didn't know anything. I still don't.
Yeah.
I just want to perform and make people happy. So you guys were so instrumental to that, man. Like it's the greatest. I always tell people, I was like, I couldn't ask for a better way to start working.
Yeah. Yeah, and back then
And that to me, those years, that cast was top of the notch.
well,
Like,
the problem is now there's no time. So now everything is done in one take, literally.
Oh, even more.
Literally.
Eastwood style. I'll tell you about it.
I know. Yeah, I want you to tell me about it. But
You block a little bit and just
yeah,
done?
I mean, you could do 2 takes, but when we were working, it was like 5 takes,
had a little
6
bit more
takes.
time,
Yeah. Now it's become like McDonald's.
So do you guys? But do you try to rehearse with your castmates in the dressing rooms? Because we used to do that. Run.
Well, here's the thing.
Is that another podcast?
No, that's not another podcast. I guess I have a reputation of not running lines. Okay, but
Also, problems to you. I love it.
it is. I will do it.
Yeah.
I don't like to.
Okay.
Okay, because my feeling is this, and I've had this conversation with Steve, where I'm in there. I do so much preparation, so much work
Prior.
the night before.
Yeah.
And then I'll do it again by myself in the thing.
Yeah.
So going into and running is not for me, it's for everybody else, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But Steve says, yeah, it's helpful. I said, Steve.
Have another Red Bull.
Yeah, exactly.
Shut up.
Have we ever run, do we run lines, Steve? And he's like, no. I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Listen, I'm not against your strategy, because when I got, and I'll bring you back to Clint, this is a good way to connect, because the way he and the whole team.
Well, let me
works-
if we're going to talk about that now, let me introduce it, because it's
Ready?
a whole little thing.
Ready? I'm gonna cue you in 3.
So I was in a theater, didn't know anything about this movie called The Mule, and I'm watching, and then Ignacio is on the screen, but it isn't Ignacio in a little role. He had a huge role, and I was so freaking happy, because I was like, wow, he's not only got a Clint Eastwood movie, he's killing it.
Thanks, man.
All right, now get into first of all, let's get into how you got it.
That sounded real. Sounded like you meant it. That's pretty good.
No, that's
you caught
yeah,
that, right?
because it's exactly
That's
what
right.
happened. I want to know about how you got that and everything.
This was 2018, and it was I was actually ready to go to the World Cup in Russia, because you know me and football.
Yeah,
That's-
yes,
Number 1, before anything. Football, family, food, the 3 Fs.
right.
I was ready to go to the World Cup, and all of a sudden my manager's like, hey, they want you to audition for this Clint Eastwood movie. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to get this. So I'll send in a tape, and I'll still plan my World Cup. There's no way. Why? I don't know why I didn't feel like they wouldn't even pay attention.
Did you audition beforehand and then they
No,
saw it?
I was in New York, and I taped my phone to the wall. Wow. And ran, because I don't walk around with a tripod or anything. I
Right.
just taped it like a phone, almost. Yeah. And my friend was there, and I was like, hey, just run lines with me. I sent that over, and I was like, all right, let's keep planning the Russia World Cup.
Wow.
There was no script. There was nothing.
Oh, what do you have to say on the phone?
I just did a scene.
Oh, okay.
Initially, I read for the Michael Pena role, the detective.
Right.
So I read for that, and then they're like, no, they want to see you for this. They want to see you for this other role, and I was like, all right. But the whole time I'm like, I'm going to Russia. That was my thing. I'm going to the World Cup. I'm
Right.
planning. And all of a sudden, I was standing in my house, and I get the call, and they're like, you're not going to Russia.
What do you mean you're not going to
And I was
Russia?
like, what? And I got the part. And then when I get the script, I'm like, oh, I'm in it.
A big.
I'm really in it.
Yes.
And I got to work with my favorite actor of all time and my mom's favorite actor, Andy Garcia. Wow. Yeah, because Andy was me growing up and watching film, and I never acted, but he kind of represented Spanish-speaking actors.
Yes.
He was it.
Yes.
And the way he carried his career with such humility, and grace, and respect, and he's so respected, and to me he was like, that's my North Star right there. So then I get to work with him, and then
First day on the set. How
No, I show
were you
up at-
nervous?
no, I show
You
up.
son of a bitch.
No. I'm there to have fun. No. I was not nervous at all. I show up, and they were at a hotel, and they had just wrapped up, and they were having a beer, and they go, "Hey, Ignacio, come meet Clint," and everybody's standing having a beer. It was like friends getting together to shoot a
Right.
film. So he gets up, and I introduced myself, and I said, "Listen," I said, "I'm not going to the World Cup to do your movie." I said, "You need to be grateful." That's the
funny.
first thing I told him.
That's funny.
And he laughed. And he goes, "Who's your team?" I said, "Argentina." He goes, "Oh, is the U.S. playing?" And I said, "No, you guys didn't make it." He goes, "I guess I'm for Argentina." And then he asked me, he said, "If you get me a jersey, I'll put it on." The next day I went to an Adidas store. I got an Argentina jersey, put it on him, and I have a picture of him.
Wow.
Nobody has that picture. No one's ever.
So, brother, you don't get nervous.
No, because I saw.
Okay, tell me why you don't get. Okay, first of all,
It's very simple, actually.
okay, but let me tell you one thing, and then we have to do some mental health, obviously, because it's a mental health show. I've asked, and I know the answer already from you, but I've asked many of people, and I've come to the conclusion that if you don't care what people think, you're not mentally ill. If you care what people think, you have some mental illness. And it's like 90% right. My son don't give a shit. My wife don't give a shit. Frank Grillo, when I asked him, didn't care. Stephen A. Smith didn't care. And I just went down the line and I figured that out. You don't care what people think. Don't ruin my theory. You cannot care what people think.
I've always been very, very secure about myself.
Okay.
I don't care about what people think. I do care about people's well-being. So
That's different.
Yeah, but there's a fine line, because then I worry a lot about, oh man, are you happy? And is there something that I can adjust?
I get what you're saying.
to
That
make
you
you happy? So
that you become too into that, and that
so
could be not healthy.
I've never been good at setting boundaries.
Okay,
and
but
I've
you
just
really
learned-
don't. If you go on a Clint Eastwood movie,
Yeah,
and
no.
wow,
Well, but specifically for our industry, to be honest. So
this is a good conversation now.
specifically for, and I've said this before, to me, what we do is beyond a blessing and a privilege. Beyond.
Right.
I've always seen it as, I get to keep the little Ignacio alive, that child, the imaginary alive.
Right.
Except now there's money and we can build sets and stuff.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what we're doing is keeping that inner child alive. And what we do is not for us. It's for other people.
Right.
And and we were talking about this with Andy Garcia. We went out to dinner a couple of times, smoked cigars, talked about Cuban music. You know, he's a musician. And he met a musician who had written a song back in the 70s, Cuban musician. And I don't know who it was, a rock star in the U.S. that took that song in the 80s, made it into a rock song, and became like a multimillionaire. And I think Andy asked him, he's like, well, but this is your song. Now that we can, now that we have a way of connecting that, why don't you sue, or why don't you get your money? It's your royalties, it's your song. And the guy said, it's not my song. It's not my song. I'm a vehicle. I was given this gift to write it. God gave me this gift, gave me this song, and if it helped this guy and it made him happy, and if it helps other people. So I've always had this thing where what we do and your ability to do what you do doesn't belong to you.
Right.
But you are a vehicle, because most people can't. Most people can't emote. Most people don't have the privilege to be on stage and work through. And listen, I remember when they were doing the storyline with you, and I was like, it's so interesting. And then they started talking about the storyline about when your character was like
Bipolar,
right? And then when I started reading that it was connected to your personal story, I was like,
yeah.
But for you to be able to have that platform and work out whatever, for us or any artist, it's a privilege.
Yes, but
Most people go into offices and stuff.
yes, but
So to answer to
Yes.
wrap it, when I saw Clint, I just go for the child. Everybody has that inner child. We just cover it up with adult stuff.
I like that.
But
yeah.
we all have that inner child. We see the world that way. When you see yourself in the mirror, when you go to bed, when something makes you happy, that's your inner child. Everything else, we're just, I'm an adult. I'm a 40-year-old man. I need to, bills, that. But at the end of the day, you strip all that away, there's this child. And that's what I'm interested in connecting.
So you go right there when you do
Yeah.
any.
Yeah, I did that with you.
Yeah.
I was like always teasing and being the silly. But
Yes.
remember that?
Yeah.
But it wasn't me. It's just like there's a child in there. There's a child in Ted. There's a child in Vonnie.
I get you. I
The
get you.
rest is we just put it up to.
Well, I just had this conversation a couple of days ago. The being bipolar, and I would get into some mental health. Being bipolar in life and being bipolar as Sonny, it was great acting wise,
Okay.
right? Method actor, right? Get in there and use my real life, and it's great. But what happens is, I didn't know then, but now that I'm been doing it for over 30 years, it's been very difficult for my life to play that for 30 years. How many nervous breakdowns? And like somebody said, your body doesn't know the difference. Very difficult.
So you're better. You're doing better now.
Yes, now I'm doing better, but I had another thing 8 months ago. It's ongoing, but I think I have a psychiatrist, a therapist,
You have better. You have
a
more
team.
tools.
Yeah, and I have better tools.
So have the tools helped you when those scenes come up? Do you feel like you have more? You can separate yourself more, and you can almost be like, "Oh, I'm gonna use this scene to help others, rather than make it more about I need to process stuff."
Or
What a great opportunity.
or you're saying make it more about ego. Because I could easily make it more about I want to be so fucking great in this scene, you see, and that's not about the other people.
Right.
That has had my problem for a long time. So I've had to cut that. I know that's my problem, or has been my problem.
Because to me, for you to have, again, to take on that responsibility, to have to portray this, which is a very sensitive subject that I don't think just anyone could do. I think there's a great power in that, and there's a great
power,
responsibility, and there's a great, you were given this gift,
yes,
to help so many people. So have you been able to adjust your mental chip to say, when a scene like that comes up, I see it as an opportunity to keep the conversation going, rather than, oh man, my emotions, it's going to bring, can you, are you able, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I think that's what I need to do.
I've been ironically, I've been talking about this a lot in the last couple of weeks. I have friends who are Reiki healers, and they or acupuncturists.
Oh,
who
yeah.
They have to protect their own energy when they're doing that work and absorbing other people's, right?
Yeah.
So I have always been about helping others, and I've always been an empath and stuff, but I've always let it really affect me. So I had to learn and pick up tools so that I can be there for others, hear your story, take it all in, but I'm always protecting this. I always have this.
That's
I'm
right.
always protecting myself.
That's-
I'm listening, and okay, what do you need an advice? Do you need advice? Do you need a suggestion? Maybe try this, maybe try that. But I am able to be there, but also protect this. I wasn't able to before. I would take on
and
other
what
people's
what
suffering.
would happen?
Well, what happens is you get tired. Then what happens is you start feeling remorse towards a person who never. It's like, well, but you made yourself available.
Right.
So now you gotta, and then I would force, it was like, well, but I've let people know that I'm the guy who's here to listen and be there. And maybe I wasn't feeling it, but it's like, but this is what I told people I am. So then it's like, well, but then you're feeding your ego. Then you're no use to me. Like, you're no good to me. It's like, hey, you're my number one forward. Tell me you have an ankle thing and I'll bench you and we'll bring in another one. Just because you're my number one forward, don't just go play. Tell me you're hurt. So I've had to learn that, and all of that came after I lost my little brother to suicide 9 years ago this week.
Really?
And that led me on to this path of mental health advocacy, and it's, I mean, the amount of gifts that my brother has left for me and my family.
Was he mentally ill?
Yeah, he suffered from depression.
Mm.
Yeah, it was tough. And I didn't have the tools. I didn't know how to be there for him. I didn't know how to talk to him. Even language. Like, what I do now is I try to teach people even the language we use. I don't know if it's happened to you, but you have a dark day, you have a bad day, and people are like, Mo, you have to do therapy. And words like have, should, and need are aggressive.
Yeah.
So I remember when I lost my brother, people are like, you have to do therapy. And my thing was, I don't have to do shit.
Yeah, right.
Their intention is right, but words like have, need, and should are very aggressive, especially when it comes from somebody who's like a family member or a friend.
Yeah.
That's different than saying, hey, Mo, you're going through this? Oh, man, I've been through something similar. I tried this. I tried doing that.
Yeah.
I tried. So what that does to you is you go, oh, so you've kind of experienced something similar and you tried all these things.
Yeah.
It opens it up for you to say, can you tell me more about this one thing? And I'm like, yeah, when I did that, that didn't work so much. So then it's my experience, and you really learn about putting your ego aside and say, I'm truly here for you for whatever you need, truly, without projecting my own frustration, without projecting what I would do. But that takes skill, tools, and that's kind of where I am right now. It's everything I do is to.
Yeah, you know, I'm about to, I'm not sure, go on a crusade with suicide. It's, since the pandemic, it's, the amount of suicides is unreal.
Yeah.
Now, like I say, and I'll say it again, the pandemic was a curse and a blessing. The blessing is if you turn on TV, if you're bipolar 1, you know, commercials everywhere. If you're depressed, if you have anxiety, it's great. That wasn't there before the pandemic.
Yep.
But the suicide is just out of control, and maybe you and I can do something.
Yeah.
I mean, to you know, I have a platform, and I don't know how to start it.
I think, so I've been an ambassador for an organization called Active Minds, and it's a nonprofit that helps youth, young people. We have chapters in a bunch of universities and K-12, and it's mainly focused on youth to champion them, to
That's great.
give
Yeah.
them tools, and then I also started a type of artistic collective called Mind the Music. So we do concerts with my band. We play shows
Oh,
to
really?
bring people together and dance, come have a good time. And then I use that platform, I use the microphone to share a little bit of my experience and to just let people know, it's like, hey, you really don't have to carry everything yourself.
Yeah.
And I think, so the reason I deleted my social media 5 years ago
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
was because I was feeling that, like, I was like, man, this is not my forte. I was posting about mental health and stuff, and I'm like, I feel like it's short. I'm coming up short just putting a post. I was like, that's not my
Yeah.
thing. My thing is people. My thing is 101, and I want to tell my story, and I want to sit with someone and feel their energy.
Yes.
And I was like, and Instagram was kind of, and social media was kind of messing with me as well, you know?
Yeah.
So I left it. I continued to do work. And then this year, after I decided to move back to LA because I was living in Sicily,
Oh.
that's a whole different chapter. I moved back to LA and I was like, I'm ready to say, okay, how can I help at 100% efficiency? I love to entertain. I love for people to have a good time. I love music. Great. And I need one-on-one. I need to sit with a person and have a conversation. And when I ask, how are you? I always tell people, ask it twice. The first, how are you? You're going to get, good, you?
Yeah.
The second one, the second, how are you? Is, I really want to know. I'm not going anywhere. I'm sitting down. I really want to know how you are. And every time, how are you? Good. Hey, I mean it. How are you? Oh, man.
Yeah, right.
But it's like that.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. So the way to do it is listen, what you're doing is super powerful. I've read the comments.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking great.
I've read the comments. What you're doing is great. Just that's what it is. It feels like it's not enough, but
It's communion. That's what's happening. It's like
Yeah.
a communion.
yeah.
And
Because of that, I sit here and now I'm talking about active minds and mind the music, and that's all it is. And it's community, and it's and I think at the end of the day, it's just slowing down a little bit.
I
think
know.
Notice how if you ask someone, hey, how you doing? Oh man, it's been really busy, and you're like, I wasn't asking about work or anything.
Right.
I want to know how you're doing. I think you're doing it.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing, man.
Thanks, man.
And like I said, I remember the first time you did all those episodes where Sonny was I was still on the show.
Yes.
And I was like, oh man, that's intense. And then I found out that it was mirroring your life, and I was like, and at the time I didn't have the knowledge about mental health that I do now.
Yeah, right.
So to me, I was like, oh my God, what? And I was almost, I think if I saw this now, I would immediately come to you and I'd be like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So now I try to do that. I try to tell people, hey, I was ignorant. I had no tools. I didn't know about mental health. I didn't know anything. I want to share that with people.
Yeah.
To hopefully prevent the worst.
Right.
Because it's not just the person that's going through mental health. The people that need a lot of help is the ones that are on the outside.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That don't know how.
Yeah.
They get frustrated because that person. So then what happens? It's cyclical, right?
Yeah.
The person gets frustrated that they can't help that person. So then this person sees that they're a burden to others. So they'll pretend to be okay just to appease these.
Yes.
But they're going more into darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, okay, I'll do what you want to go on a hike because it's gonna make you feel good that I'm doing better. I'll go on a hike. So then it turns into you don't realize that you're trying to like, hey, I need you to get better so that I can feel better.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
So I try to also educate those who are on the outside.
Well, I like that you do one-on-one because that's where you really can get that energy, and instead of trying to put a thing up that says mental health
mental
care.
health,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like I was coming up short. I was getting DMs from people sharing their stories, and I was
Yeah.
like, and I would reply. So now when I started Mind the Music, I hired a team to do social, because I don't want social media on my phone.
You hired a team?
I hired
Yeah.
these 3 ladies were incredible, and they're like, we'll take care of the social media stuff. And every once in a while, I'm back on social media, but I'm not back. The movement is back.
Well, that's cool.
To create a space where people can get to email us and be like, and we'll connect you to the right resources. And
Right.
But at the end of the day, honestly, it just comes down to just slowing down and checking in with somebody. We have an Active Minds. We started a program called Ask, which is acknowledge, support, keep in touch.
Wow. Yeah.
So keep in touch with your people.
Yeah.
And that's all I care about.
Yeah.
All I care about is my family and my friends.
I get you.
So part of my day, when I wake up, part of my daily routine and the 24 hours of the day, about an hour and a half is dedicated to scanning, going through the people in my life and checking in.
Yeah.
But it's not an effort. It's just,
Right.
that's just part of my day. Nothing more matters.
Now, can we now, before we go,
Oh,
talk
man, for real?
no, are you going to talk about your early life? Since usually I do in the beginning, I don't want you to go without people knowing who you are, as far as where you were born, and
Okay.
we'll take it. I got some notes here. And
Yeah?
so where were you born?
Who wrote your, was it your
It's
butcher?
chicken scratch.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's
Your
chicken
doctor made the list for you? Jeez.
So you were
Born
born.
and raised in Argentina,
Yeah.
but I lived in Mexico
And-
for 8 years.
right.
Teenage years.
How was Argentina?
It was awesome. I grew up in a very, very small, very humble neighborhood.
Is it beautiful there?
Argentina's beautiful. My town where I was born and raised, I mean, I'm being honest right now. Like it's a very, it's pretty run down. It's very run down.
Beaches, nice beaches.
Yeah, but I wasn't by the beach. I was south of Buenos Aires.
Nice.
Yeah. In a very small town called Lanús, Monte Chingolo. And
You
it
had
was very neighborhood. I was outside all day long. You had the guy who sold you your fruit and veg. You had your butcher. This street was dirt until I was like 6 or 7, and they
damn.
But the best childhood.
What about food?
Delicious. It was all
Beef?
organic and not expensive as hell.
Right.
But you got it from the butcher. You got the fruit from the guy and it was seasonal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here
yeah.
we can find. I love it because when we go to other places, especially in America and LA, you go to other countries in Europe. And when I was living in Sicily, we would have people come and be like, "No strawberries," and you're like, "No, you can't grow them right now," because we're so used to eating whatever we want 365 days out of the year. I need my strawberries. And the guy in Sicily is going, "I cannot give you the strawberry, no grow."
That's great.
So he's like, "Have a parsnip."
Is that where you learned how to play soccer?
No, God, no. No. When I was
You-
a kid, I was a kid.
you
Football.
Yeah.
Football. So you don't need sometimes we didn't have a ball because we couldn't afford it. Sometimes we didn't have, so sometimes you play barefoot and we would take all our socks and make a ball. That's the beautiful thing about
Really?
Yeah. You don't need cleats. You don't need, sometimes, like I said, sometimes you don't even need a ball. You just find whatever you can kick. We'd make a ball or tape.
With
a bunch of tape.
with tape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
masking tape, like the
Yeah,
silver
whatever
tape.
we could find.
Yeah.
I mean, tape is expensive.
And you've been playing soccer your whole life.
Yeah, I still do 4 times a week. Yeah.
So what? You're like close to professional, or
Yeah, at one point I was pretty pretty good, but no. No.
Oh,
I play. I'm older now, but I can still keep up with the 20-year-olds. I'm not as fast as them, but I always tell them, and I do a lot of mental, I started playing in the 80s where there were no cameras either. So we would do like a little finger in the butthole so that the player would get mad and foul you and get a red card. We did. I'm serious. So I'll still do I'll be in the match and I'm guarding the forward and I'll be like, listen, it's either going to be you or the ball, but the two of you are not getting by me together. Wow. I talk a lot of shit.
So you never at any point thought, I think I can do this?
No, because it didn't seem ever since I was young, I call it the ADD, but it sounds negative because thank God for my ADD because I was able to channel it. And once I had guidance, thank God I was.
Oh, you did have ADD.
Yeah, but I didn't. But here's the thing: I was prescribed Ritalin, and I never took it. Never took it because I thought, no, this is actually suppressing. There's a lot of creativity happening. I just need a channel. I just need a guide to guide it.
Yeah.
I was in school. I had a hard time because I'm inside a biology class, and I'll tell the teacher, why are we inside? Isn't the biology out there? That's where the trees are.
Right.
Why are we in a room?
That's good.
Oh, geography. Well, let's go places.
Yeah.
Why am I learning about geography?
Yeah.
So I couldn't.
Were you a smart ass when you were young?
Yeah. No, I was just
a little bit. Be honest.
Hyper. No, I was hyper. I couldn't focus because I had all these. But then when I realized that I can use that as a positive tool, and once we moved to the States, and once I found an acting school, theater, man, I'm been unstoppable. Like the amount of shit that I do is because I've learned how to channel it, but I never suppressed it.
How did you learn how to channel?
I think
you were aware of it.
Theater school helped me because that's where I started getting tools on how to take that energy and put it towards things.
Right.
And I also, I pretty much had to learn, instead of giving 5% to 100 things, let's give 100% to 5. Finish those 5. Let's move on to the next.
Okay, I like that.
Yep. And now it's like I'm unstoppable. All these projects that I always have a ton of stuff going on.
But you have slowed down. I could see the way you were on General Hospital.
Like my energy?
Yeah. It was just always.
Because I had all these ideas, and and also at the time I was young. I didn't have the resources to make them come to fruition.
Right.
So I was like, oh my God, can nobody see that this is a good idea, or can I do this and do that? And I dance, I do all these things, and I was hoping producers would be like, oh, he can do all these things. But as I got older and my career, I was like, no, okay, I'm going to use my platform and I'm going to do all the things that I really want to do. But I'm going to take over.
Yeah.
I'm going to take control of that.
Yeah. I mean, your energy, whatever you're saying about ideas and stuff, that's probably always been there, and that's what you have now. But your energy from not seeing you in 20 years is a little more.
Oh, yeah.
A little more
serene.
Chill.
Yeah. Because this is that. Right now, currently, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life.
What does happy mean to you?
Serene, tranquil, and very happy with myself.
Yeah.
And I have a great connection with my creator and with my team of light that looks over. And that hole that needs to be filled with our love and our Holy Spirit, let's call it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to fill it through other people either.
Yeah.
I would do that with relationships.
Yes.
That's kind of like the ego relationship where I would meet.
You haven't been married or what?
No.
Damn.
No kids that I know of.
Wow.
Yeah.
How? I need to talk about that.
I want to more than any. Oh yeah.
You've always wanted to?
Always. To be honest, ever since my little brother was born.
Damn.
I was like, I'm gonna be a dad. I have 6 godchildren.
And that hasn't affected you in any kind of way? Like you haven't been married, you don't feel good about that, or
So after my last relationship, where, and that's the thing. My ego was like, oh, this woman is here to fill all these things, and then finally I realized, no, 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 no. I need to take care of that. I need to love myself. I need to know my values. You can't expect other people to come and fill that for you, which is unfair to her, and it was a lot of pressure. So after that breakup, I felt, oh man, I'm 40 and it's not happening. And finally, when I reached this point of serenity, and I was like, I know I'm going to be a dad, and in whatever form it is, whether it's biological or adopting or whatever. But I realized that I needed to be very happy with myself first. I needed to be,
Of course.
serene.
Of course.
I needed to not be like, well, now, most human beings, well, what are we worried about most? Usually, what we have or what we don't have.
Yeah.
What we don't have. So we're always constantly in a state of lack.
Right.
That's our mind. Like, oh, well, when I have this, I'll be good. When I have, so I was very aware of that. I was like, well, I have everything else is good. I need a woman by my side. So then it's like, I gotta find someone to fill it.
Yeah.
No. I'm the most I'm serene. I'm at peace. I'm very much at peace.
Well, someone asked me a couple of days ago to define happiness. And, for me, it's kind of maybe 2 days ago, I was not as happy, and yesterday I wasn't happy. It kind of varies. But peace within is where it's at. That's kind of what you're saying. It's that peace within. When I have that, dude, I can conquer the world, man. And it is for me, and I believe for you in your own way. It's God within, right? Is saying, is making you. But I always have to question, which I shouldn't, because now I'm figuring it out. Is why do I have to go through another trauma? That's what I don't understand.
You know why? I think I have an answer for that.
Okay.
Because not many people can go through it and come out. So you were chosen to go through it, to come out of it, and to help people.
Yep.
That's why I think.
Yep.
I think most people cannot.
That's true. That's true.
After, I think I think what you've been through and what you're doing it's beyond admirable, man. Like, what you're doing is, you were chosen. So you're like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm the soldier in the front lines. I'll take a few bullets. It's okay.
That's true. It's funny. I was on my set, and it always happens. And I was frustrated. I couldn't get some people to come into state of mind, or I was like, oh, man, how much more can I do? And I was having these thoughts. Exactly, and this is where God comes in. This actor who had been playing the bad guy, really good actor. I go to the outside to get my script, and he goes, "Excuse me, can I interrupt you for a second?" I said, "Yeah," and he's kind of crying, and he goes, "State of mind saved my life," and it was like God saying, whatever you just said too, you just got to keep going. But sometimes, brother, it's hard. Not this is hard.
No,
It's going through what I do on the outside. Sometimes I've come in here interviewing, messed up. Oh, I'm half asleep, bro. I'm like,
Yeah.
and what? But I do know that it's bigger than me, bigger than acting, and I had to continue.
Yeah, but it's also, like we always say, it's okay not to be okay. So
I know.
had you come in here today feeling low, whatever, we would have. All right, I'll match you, and let's.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay. Let's both be who. Because at the end of the day, when you realize that you don't have to carry the bag of rocks by yourself, and we're both kind of like, all right, do you want to sit down together and cry? Let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it just magically
Yeah.
then it turns into like a positive conversation.
Absolutely.
Because you have somebody going,
yeah.
hey, I see you. I've been there. I'm here for you.
But you have to understand, too, that not a lot of people have sensitivity like that.
Right. And that's where this comes in.
Yeah.
And that's where teaching comes in. But what I've noticed is that, especially living in Sicily, right, in a culture that's, when it comes to mental health and therapy, it's still
They're not
years behind, right? And you have those generations of, the Sicilian, and I had an incredible interaction because when I was living there, I kind of took it upon myself. I was like, this is my challenge. I want to be in the Sicilian town, and I want to show all these men specifically that you can still be sensitive and emotional and stuff and still be a man.
Right.
Because their idea of a man is
don't cry.
It's just right, or you won't succeed or something. So I said, okay, let me go show them as a man that I can succeed, that I can stay fit, that I can be happy while talking about, without shame, about crying, I was like, let me be the poster boy for these Sicilian men. And I sat down with one last year with my friend's dad, and his wife has been going through, he had leukemia, right? And she's been going through a bunch of stuff. So I just took him out to lunch. And I said, how you doing? Bene, bene, bene. And I look at him, I go, listen, you don't have to. I said, you know my story. I said, so I'm going to ask you again, and keep in mind who you're talking to. I go, you don't have to do anything to impress me. I know you're a hunter. Got it. So I asked him again, and you just see him breathing, and he puts on his sunglasses.
Damn.
And I said, no, come here, give me those. He starts laughing. I said, take them out. And he starts looking at me, and he looks away, and he kind of starts crying and crying and crying and crying. And I go over, I just give him a hug. And he does this. He kind of taps me, right? And I said, give me a hug. I said, hug me tighter. And I was like, hug me tighter. Just and now breathe, come on, hug me tighter. Let it out.
Damn.
And I said, I know how hard it is. You hang out with men your age that you've known for 20 years, yet what you've just shown me, they've never seen.
Right.
And that motivates me to keep.
That kind of stuff does motivate.
It motivates me, man. So when you get a message like that, or I saved a message from a guy on Instagram who said, "Hey, you didn't know me. You replied, and your message saved my life because I was about to." That to me,
that's it.
I always think, I'm trying to be selfless. I just want to do it but it feels so good.
Yes. Yes, that
it feels so good that
I'm with
like,
you.
I want to keep doing that. And if it's one person at a time, and then they pay it forward.
All right, brother, we can't talk any. I think I got somebody coming in.
Let's just do a two-parter.
We could do a two-parter. I have no problem doing that. Absolutely.
I could talk to you about.
Let me. I know there's a lot more. Once.
What we can do is just at least, because I want people to, if they have questions and stuff, I want them to.
Yes.
I want them to get in touch. So now that we're back, it's called Mind the Music.
Okay. They could comment. They
Mind
can
the Music.
Yes.
We just opened our Instagram and stuff, and
all right.
we have an email. They can contact me. I'm gonna try to reply to everybody. I want people to know that they can reach out to us.
All right, you got that right. So now I'm gonna end it talking about Ignacio. Wow. This guy, and I've only said this maybe 5 times. He should have his own podcast, just because he's smart. He cares. I can tell he's just sensitive and wants to help people, but he's got the gift of gab. and that should be celebrated. Somebody I haven't seen in 20 years. Open book, which I kind of thought he would be. Some people aren't, which is fine too. I appreciate him. We'll do it again. We'll do it again. He'll come in. We'll go on another journey. Because this one was kind of going where it went, and I love that. You just take it. So I appreciate you coming in, and State of Mind appreciates it, brother.
However, I'm telling you, man, I'll come back as many times as you want.